Ty Lopez and Gary Vaynerchuk, two of the most relevant names in online entrepreneurship today. Today's guest on From Zero happens to be in the inner circle of both. He's a social media machine, but also understands how to bridge the gap of opportunities, understanding relevancy, and how to be a serial entrepreneur at its finest. Welcome back to another episode of From Zero, where today I have the pleasure of bringing on Braydon Ross, a serial entrepreneur, an online phenom who is just rated one of the top 10 entrepreneurs in 2018 by Entrepreneur Magazine. It's my pleasure to introduce you guys to Braydon. All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of From Zero, where we have on a very special local guest today who's been playing in the world of some of the greats that you guys most definitely know on this channel, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Ty Lopez. So it's my pleasure to introduce my new friend, Braydon Ross. What's going on, man?
How you doing?
Good, good.
Doing well.
Yeah, right on, man. So I'm excited to have you on here because a lot of the people on my channel know me for social media, and this is the world that you play in.
Yeah.
So, now you're involved with some of the people that are sort of looked at as the icons of social media, like, again, Ty Lopez and Gary. So, why don't we learn a bit about your story in terms of, how you got to that point and how you started playing in that world. And then let's dive into maybe some, trends and tips for people on social media, because they know it's relevant, but a lot of them have trouble taking action and actually doing what everyone is preaching.
100%. I guess so. My story started roughly, it started when I was a kid. I think all of us as entrepreneurs start when we're young. And it's kind of like, if it's really born into you, you understand right from the beginning that we all hate patterns.
Yeah.
And for me, it was I didn't hate school, but even on my first day of kindergarten, I remember my dad saying that I asked him if this is all there is to life. And he looked at me like, are you kidding me? You're what, 6, 7 years old? And
yeah.
I think it really blossomed when I was younger. I seen how much of an advantage, and it's not solely about financials, but how much of an advantage of having money allowed you to walk away from situations you didn't want to be involved in.
Of course.
So for me, it was all about, I started with collecting toonies from my grandparents and my parents, and I'd try and fill a roll up for $50 and save up enough to buy a Game Boy, and I'd flip that Game Boy with my friends and, just try to barter. And that started at a young age. So really my true success was 2 years ago. I was in my fourth year of university. I have 5 classes left. I actually never graduated with my degree, but I have a bachelor's or a business diploma.
Okay.
And so I went from UFC. I did get a certificate. It was environmental health and safety, and then I went into business school at SAIT. And then I went to the University of Lethbridge, tried to take an honorary degree, and just decided it really wasn't for me. I feel like, obviously you would know as an entrepreneur, you're just like, I felt like I was wasting time trying to learn how to do business when I could just be running a business learning that way.
Yeah.
And so I started a TV streaming company. My brother came to me with this idea. It was like a little box. It was an Android box, and this thing called Kodi, which was a software, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, was going rampant, and people were like, wow, I can pay one-time fee for as much cable as I wanted. It really wasn't live TV, but it was on demand, and I understand Netflix was trending. So the light bulb went off, and I thought, okay, well, instead of me trying to get a job this summer, because I had already got turned down in 2 interviews because I didn't have a degree, so I tried to get a job at Syntaz, and I was trying to be an assistant plant manager to get my first corporate experience. And it's not essentially corporate, but it's getting there. And they turned me down. They said, you don't have a degree yet, so you have to go back to school and finish my year degree. So it took me another 1.5 years. So I thought, okay, I'm going to try and pursue this Android business. And the Android business started on the idea that everybody in the small town called Langdon, which is near Chestermere, that's where my parents had brought me still living with them. So this was actually, like I said, 2 years ago. And in June 2016, I tried doing serving. I was at Earl's downtown in Calgary and left on my 3rd day as well. I'm just like, this whole job thing, I got to figure out something that I actually like doing. So I made a Facebook post, and this is how it ties into social media. I made a Facebook post based on the idea, testing something, and this is what Ty talks about a lot of the time, is testing products, especially for people that want to get involved in e-commerce.
Certainly.
So you can't just be like, hey, everybody wants to buy an iPhone because some people like Android.
Yeah.
They like the utility of an open source platform, and so maybe they don't want iPhones. So it was the same way with this Android box. An Android box allowed me to bring cable to people's houses without getting in trouble, because I wasn't actually letting them download anything. I was showing them how to actually stream it. It's like if I sold you a bong when weed wasn't legal, and I'm saying, hey, just connect these 2 dots and you'll get high.
Certainly.
So I was saying, okay, basically, if you use a streaming box, you don't necessarily need cable. You can stream all the stuff on Netflix, and you watch movies in theaters. People are like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
This is already available online, but now I'm just showing you how to do it.
Certainly.
So for people that are older, they don't want to take the time to learn. So I would drive to people's houses, and I was driving a Kia Rio at the time. It's my first car.
Nice.
And I used the local mom buy and sell group.
The best.
So they were all, I mean, they talk the most, right? So all the husbands are at work, and a lot of them are oil and gas out there, and there's a little community called Boulder Creek, and that's where usually the more rich people would live.
Yeah.
And I targeted them specifically, and I made a post, and it just said, hey, you know, how much is cable costing you? What if I could give you a one-time shot? I'll even drive to your house and do a 15-minute free trial or demonstration. And if you don't like it, you don't have to buy anything. So people are like, well, I have nothing to lose. And I'd start getting appointments through there. So I'd follow up with every person that liked, commented, and shared.
Yeah.
And from there, people just like, wow, why is this kid messaging me? And I made a referral system. I said, if you refer 2 people, you get a free box. 3 of them, you get 2 free boxes. And 4 of them, I'll essentially hook your whole family up on a free box. Because my cost on it was like $50, and I sold it for $250.
Yeah.
So my margins were good, and it was only the time constraint. So I spent 6 months from like June to like November, because I was taking online courses with school, because I really wanted to push away from spending time in class and
Certainly.
focus on this business. So I was taking cash at first, like anybody would in a business when you're first starting. So I saved up my first $5,000, and my car blew up on me, the Kia Rio. So I had to ride a bicycle, which was my dad's. I remember literally having to drag it all the way down the street in Langdon, go to the Kimmers Country Market and fill up the tire, and I'd bike around with a backpack on and have about 5 Android boxes, because I was regurgitating the money I was making to make more money. So that was my first experience about scaling a business and whatnot, and people were starting to just get referred to me like you do with Realty.
Certainly.
So from there, long story short, Rossbox later became a subscription-based business where people could essentially purchase for $180 a year TV streaming services. But since I wasn't actually allowing them to download it, we were not infringing on copyright or doing any sort of piracy, because we're essentially a middleman.
Yeah.
That's still running. And essentially I had enough people where I just have a back-end office, kind of runs itself.
Sure.
It's not my main focus anymore. I kind of wanted to move away from it for something that would be like, you know, more stable in a sense, where I'm like, okay, what's the root of this business? It's marketing. So how can I get really good at marketing? How can I leverage that and monetize it? So I moved into Airbnbs.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I took the money I made from Rossbox, and I purchased my first property at 21.
Wow.
And that's the one at Vetro.
Yep.
I don't know if I can say that on here.
Yeah, sure.
In case people are like looking me up.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I thought, okay, well, Calgary Stampede's rolling around. I bought the property in 2017 of January.
Yeah.
Or it's 2016, something like that. And yeah, so I bought it, and then I listed on Airbnb for Stampede Week, and it was rented out at $400 a night.
That's crazy.
So it's like, oh my God, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. I just made $4,000. I'm going to Mexico. I went to Mexico with my best friend, and we went to Vegas, and I partied it up, spent all the money.
Yeah.
But I made the money, and it proved to me that, okay, well, since I want to be a lifestyle entrepreneur, I want to live from the laptop. Now, why don't I just pay for my trips with this money I'm making from Airbnb? If I'm not here, why not just rent it out?
Yeah.
So then the light bulb went off again, and I thought, okay, well, this is my little Airbnb trick. Why not sublease these apartments?
Of course.
Right? Like, why not get owner's permission? And even if you don't have owner's permission, there's loop arounds in the contracts that you actually written, right? I thought, okay, and I'll give one of them away here for whoever's watching. So if you actually list your name on that contract as a lease, therefore you have to stay in that property. You can't really put guests under you unless you have agreement with the owner saying,
Certainly.
I can put guests in here. Obviously, you're going to pay them a percentage, maybe 10% more based on what they're asking of our gross revenue for the month. But if you list a business, an incorporated business, a business is not a physical person, so therefore you can list guests under there, and you have 2 weeks to send the owner a letter. I'm like, okay, perfect. Now my job is easier, and now I can just go out and get these apartments. So that's what I did.
That's awesome.
So I got one in Guardian, Sasso, Allura, Vetro, and I just started building up, but I wanted to move more into a market. I'm working on this right now. So I'm trying to work closely with Ty's team, Dr. Alex and Ty Lopez, and doing like a big investment deal, putting $2 to $3 million into this idea, but doing it in the LA area and picking up like 1,000 properties.
Certainly.
So let's rewind, I guess. So we had Airbnb, and then I heard of this thing called Bitcoin. So this is my third stream of income.
Wow.
So I had Rossbox, Airbnb, and then Bitcoin rolled around where I was at Waves Coffee, and I started to train people because I noticed I could make money online, and I was charging like next to nothing, like $50 an hour or whatever. I had to sit down, try to get a feel for how I would teach people and what I'd teach them. I was new, so I knew I couldn't charge $300-400 an hour. So I was doing that, and I was sitting at Waves Coffee, and this machine was in the corner, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Right? So I did my research, and this thing called Bitcoin was trending.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was worth $1,200. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's take some of the money I made from Rossbox. I got $3,000 on me, and I plugged it into the machine. So I took my little Coinbase app out, which I still have, and Coinbase at the time was the big one, and I scanned it, and I bought some Bitcoin. And then the next week I went back and I put another 3 in. The next week I went back and put another 3 in. And by that point I had several Bitcoin. I don't know what it was, 6 or 7 Bitcoins, 5, I don't know what it was. And Bitcoin, I just held it, forgot about it, to be honest. And it hit 25K in November of 2017. And I was like, oh my God, like what's going on? So I sold all of it.
Yeah.
Because I felt like obviously nothing can go parabolic for that long.
Big time.
And I reinvested all that money, never took any of it for myself, into Bitcoin mining, which is slow now, but it still pays back.
Yeah.
So I got involved with that company. It's actually called Bit Club Network, if you want to look it up.
Cool. I'll link it below.
Yeah,
yeah.
Sure. And I'll leave, I guess I could use my own.
Yeah,
because
of
people
course.
can like refer themselves under me.
Certainly.
So Bit Club Network, it's pretty good, but I'd recommend if you're getting into Bitcoin mining, it's a late entry. If you want to mine altcoins, it's better.
Yeah.
But I'd recommend if you're going to trade, just trade on like Binance.
Sure.
For anybody that's interested, start with Bitcoin and you pair it up with Bitcoin, every little coin. Now, so that was my third stream of income. Then I'm like, okay, personal brand, what are we doing here? I seen this Tai Lopez thing. It was an ad. Everybody's seen it, right? I'm in my garage, you know, like
the infamous.
you know what's more important than my Lamborghini is books,
Yeah.
knowledge. And I'm like, who is this guy, right?
Of course.
He took the internet by a craze because nobody was doing YouTube ads at the time.
Yeah.
So I clicked on his link, and he was promoting this thing, 67 steps, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
I never bought it. I still haven't bought it.
Yeah.
But then I kept getting hit by his ads. I'm like, okay, how much is this guy spending on ads?
Of course.
How is he hitting me? I don't understand this. So I started doing my research. This fell into the idea of social media marketing,
Yeah.
how you could retarget people. And Facebook was super cheap. Google was super cheap at the time. Now it's expensive.
Yeah.
But not as expensive as it's going to be, and that'll talk about trends.
Certainly.
When the big players like Coca-Cola and Walmart come in. So if we're talking about that, like I hopped in his webinar, and at the time I was like, okay, well, I want to buy this course, SMMA, Social Media Marketing Agency. So I went into the program. I watched 5 videos. He started talking about how to form an LLC because it's the United States and incorporate and pick a domain name. But when he got to the pricing, he's like, you charge $9.95, $19.95, $39.95, $10.99, or $9,995. I'm like, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, okay, well, if I could even land one client at $1,000 a month, that's life-changing because my overhead is nothing.
Big time.
If I run their social media, their Facebook, their Instagram, email marketing, optimize their website, do a weekly email, then I'm making essentially $1,000 for a 1 hour of work a week, essentially, if I do it right.
Yeah.
So my mom worked for a dental clinic, and she still works for it. I'm not going to name the dental clinics on here just for privacy issues.
Of course.
But I said, can I meet with your boss, Jeff, after I get back from Hawaii with you guys? So we went on a Hawaii trip, and this was 2017 now. So I'd done Rossbox for almost a year at that point. It was a year at that point. And it was May, and I came back, and I said, can I get a meeting with Jeff? I met Jeff briefly, and he's like, yeah, come over to my house. He's a really cool guy. So he's the owner of 3 clinics, 3 very good clinics in the south, like Mackenzie Lake and like Acadia and that sort of area, and Lake Bonavista. So I sat down, I showed up to Jeff's house. I didn't have my website ready. I didn't have my pitch ready. I didn't have a business card. I asked him, like, can I literally write on this napkin? It was a big napkin. He gave me a pen. I wrote on the napkin. He's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, like, here's the pricing, but I'm going to guarantee you something. And I made it up on the spot.
Of course.
But I'm like, here's the 4 pricing packages. And he's like, well, let's do 2 clinics. I'm like, well, why not 3? And he's like, well, because you're charging me $30,000 a clinic. He thought I was charging him $30,000 a clinic, but I said I'd get you to page 1 of Google by month 6, or I'll give you all your money back.
Yeah.
And he's like, here's $60,000. I'm like, Jeff, what the hell is this? He's like, actually, you know what, let's do 3. Here's $90,000.
Wow.
And I'm like, there's no way I could bring you enough leads, possibly. I'm just starting my agency.
To compensate
for this. So he's like, well, you said you'd give me all my money back if you don't get me to page 1 of Google by 6 months. Wow. I was like, yeah, that's true, but I still don't want to, I'm not going to say I'm doing this much. I'd rather just like under promise and over deliver.
Of course.
So we brought it down, and I closed the deal for $35,000 in my first week of doing SMMA. And it was like a huge shot going from a university student doing Rossbox, Airbnbs, Bitcoin. You know, I was making okay money.
Yeah.
Like $5 to $8 grand a month, whatever. I was doing well. but then really I wanted to push into doing 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 100.
Certainly.
So you can't get there without doing, having like 5-6 streams of income, or a really one stream of income.
Yeah.
So it was just me at this point. I didn't have a team or anything. So I landed that deal, and I didn't fully know how to do SEO at the time. So SEO, for people who don't know, is search engine optimization, ranking somebody on Google. Usually somebody who's in like the first spots, like top 3, usually will get the most business. Nobody really goes to page 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course. So it's super lucrative. Usually, and Harvard did a big study on this before I had pitched it to Jeff, I guess 40% more businesses get 40% more leads when they're in the top 3 spots. So I pitched that to Jeff, and really he was sold on that idea.
Yeah.
He didn't really believe a lot of the Facebook and Instagram, which you might find for a lot of older business owners. So that happened, and everything went well. He made, page 1 by month 6 for all 3 clinics. We signed an exclusivity deal, so I couldn't advertise for any other dental clinics in Calgary for 2 more years. So I worked on that, and then I landed other clients, smaller clients too. Like, so one of them was $1,000 a month, and it was a clothing company. I hated it. I recommend never go after somebody who's struggling just to pay your bare minimum.
Agreed.
They're gonna waste your time.
Yeah.
And I still run my agency, but the cool part is I actually, more recently in the past 6 months, got a deal with another marketing agency up in Edmonton, and they deal with Integra Tire Canada, Pizza Hut, or Pizza 73, ATB Financial, Merit Contractors, the Government of Canada. So I work with all these big brands now. Because I drove up to the office and I pitched them on the idea of social media. I actually had to sit down for an hour and show them, talk to them. I couldn't be like, hey, I'm an expert, blah, blah, blah. And they were sold on it. So they hired me on as a consultant, and I have my agency. I consult through them, and I just created a 3rd joint venture agency in LA with they're actually pretty much billionaires. You might know their last name. They're called Koshman. So Manny and Mozzie. I'm partnered up with that family now. So actually, Manny just bought a Bugatti yesterday.
I saw that.
I just called Mozzie. I'm like, Mozzie, did Manny just buy that? He's like, yeah, the guy wanted to put in an offer for, had it on hold for $2.1 million. Manny walked in and gave him $2 million cash, and they sold it to him.
Yeah.
I'm like, Jesus.
I know.
Holy.
He's crazy, man.
So I'm going up to LA on the 27th to meet with them again, and and then obviously we'll talk about everything too.
Yeah.
So that's 4 streams of income. My 5th stream of income came from personal branding, which is a long-term game. You can't expect to make money right away. I mean, you got to wait at least like 6 months to a year. And there's no such thing as organic growth anymore, people. Like, it's like, if you post, hashtags will get you so far.
Agreed.
You need a push from somewhere, such as podcasts, shout-outs. On big pages, shout-outs are excellent. Obviously, using some sort of strategy where people run your account, or automation if you want to use that. So I built IG Crack. And IG Crack mixes automation with real humans. So that way I'm not breaking Instagram's terms of conditions. Of course, I have an artificial intelligent bot. But I also have real people that mix in with that equation. So we're doing it right.
Fantastic.
So IG Crack came along, and I'm like, I have a marketing agency. Not everybody can afford even $1,000 a month to $10,000. That's why I chose the medical niche, because they make the most. If I get a surgeon a boob job, he's paying me, or they're paying $7,000, right? Compared to a coffee shop that makes $3 on a coffee. So
for sure.
IG Crack was $150 a month for a business to get unlimited amount of leads based on how good they post, and we'll take care of the growth essentially. So 150 US, so 200 Canadian a month, essentially will catapult their following and get them more followers. And if you can't afford $200 a month, you shouldn't be in business.
Big time.
So now I opened myself up not only to people that could afford the higher ticket items, but to everybody. So combining those two, it falls under the marketing umbrella. And that was stream number 5. Stream number 6 is my coaching. And that's sort of where it ends. So my coaching is, I coach anybody who really wants to get into the online space on personal branding, social media marketing agency, and Airbnb. Those 3 things. I don't teach Forex. I don't really teach crypto. I'm not a super expert on that. I don't do any of that stuff. Even flipping homes and stuff, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Certainly.
So, or selling a home, to be honest. So those 3 things, what I teach people, and I usually charge somewhere around like $1,500 to $2,000 a month, and it's on a 3-month program. And they get like 1 hour a week with me. Just one-on-one, and in between that they can call me. They're sort of like VIPs. Instead of me messaging people on Instagram, they can call me. I'm like a business partner, and I'll make informed decisions based on everything they're doing without taking profit.
Of course.
So that's my 6 streams of income, and then eventually investing. But I'm here today. I got discovered by Ty Lopez. It was actually pretty fluky. I was laying in bed next to her a month ago, and I commented on this video. And I was like, hey Ty, do you remember me running into you at Mandalay Bay in February for GrowthCon 2 with Grant Cardone? And I'm like, I made X amount of dollars in the first week. You shouted me out on your Instagram and Facebook. or Instagram and Snapchat, and he said, come shoot in LA. I woke up the next morning, Gary Vaynerchuk's team had done the same thing with me, and they're like, Gary, we're Team Gary V or whatever, and Gary Vaynerchuk wrote too in this big group chat. It was just actually us three. They're like, we want you to be part of the inner circle, maybe fly you out to Super Bowl and do these cool things. I'm like, oh my God, everything's changing. So this is only a month ago. But it took me 2 years to get there.
Of course.
And it doesn't happen. It's, there's people that are doing, as well or better than me, of course. But it's all about being at the right place at the right time. But you can't, it's not all luck, because luck is created by yourself. You have to be there. And I ran into Ty Lopez. I told her, I said, we just started seeing each other at the time. I said, I want to meet one person when I go to GrowthCon, and it's going to be Ty Lopez, because that's who I love, right? Like, I don't personally love him, but I like his idea of what he does and how he's able to do health, wealth, love, and happiness, and have these 4 pillars where he's actually happy. Yeah. And after being at his house, filming 2 weeks ago for SMMA 2, I taught a lesson in there. I got to meet the whole team. He has 25 people in the house every day. Got to meet his mom. And I'll share some more details after, just because I can't say it on camera.
Of course.
But just everything about like what you're saying online, skepticism will kill your opportunity. Yeah. So if you're looking at things and you're like, shit, this MLM didn't work for this person, that person, it's because they didn't do it right. 1% of people are successful for a reason, because we do things other people don't want to do. Yeah. We wake up every day and we do things people don't want to do. We work 12 hours on a laptop, 15 hours. You have yellow glasses to stop blue light because you work longer than the next person. Yeah. And you're successful at 25 years old to do that. So people are like, how do you travel all the time? Well, you got to work smart. I mean, if you're buying a car, why not lease it and write off the payments? Yeah. Why would you spend 500 grand on a Lamborghini? If you have the money, cool. But most people, even if you got a couple million in the bank, you're still an idiot for doing that. Yeah. I'm sorry. You are. Yeah. I would rather lease it and write off the payments.
Certainly.
If you're buying properties, why not just buy properties, rent them out, and then rent where you live so you can move at any time? Yep. It's smarter. Grant Cardone says that. So I got a lot of my traction. Grant Cardone shouted me out on his Instagram, and Ty Lopez were the 2 big ones that actually did it for me. Yeah. And that helped me a lot. So I've grown IG Crack to 66,000 followers, and my own brand over 100,000. A million's hard. Yeah. In this niche, I mean, if you're an entertainer in comedy, people will follow you because you're not asking anything. Certainly. Right. But as of now, that's sort of where I am, and I had my first 6-figure month last month.
Crazy.
Profit. Yeah. So. That's
amazing, man. There's so many things I want to take a step back and just analyze, right? Like, looking from an opportunity perspective for different entrepreneurs, it's like you had Rossbox, and what you basically did is similar to what a used car or whatever would do, is they see what the value is to purchase, and they see what the market value is, and they bridge that gap with value, and there's a window of opportunity with big margins. And then you go back and you look at real estate, and it's like, okay, it's just thinking creatively. Instead of leaving and having to pay, you can have someone pay for you with the new opportunities that the world has today, like Airbnb. And then you go and look at social media, which is trending, and then you say, wow, this is still in its infancy, it's still cheap. You have these people in industries where people are making a lot of money. Yeah. They don't understand how to do it. They know it's relevant, they know it's important. So you're bridging that gap again, saying, wow, the margins are huge, because if you invest an hour or 2 hours of your time, but the market value of that, it's not your value, it's the market value of that is now $1,000, $2,000, $10,000 a month. Yeah. That's a huge gap that you can again bridge. It's bridging these gaps of opportunities with stuff that we as millennials are able to be proficient at. Yeah. Right? And then something that I love you said about being in front of Ty Lopez is something that Steve Holbrook's episode we talked about with him getting in front of M. Milet. Yeah. Basically what he did is, like you alluded to, it's not about being luck, it's about being in the right place at the right time, but it was years of work and effective strategic action to get there, right? So it's like for him, he flew down to LA and made sure he met and shook his hand. It's similar to you, is like, at the end of the day, we're in an industry now, or we're in a time now where you can DM people, you can find out where they are, you can. So, even though they seem like these extreme figures that are untouchable, they're still real people, and they're still in places that we can get to if we put in, again, the diligent effort, right? So I think that's important for people to understand, right? You're basically identifying all of these neat opportunities that are just bridging the gap between, the effort you need to put in and the monetary market value, and looking at the huge spreads that are possible with different technologies that we have today.
100%, man. You're dead, right on the. It's just crazy. Like, people think it's impossible. It's never been more possible to be successful. And there's more millionaires every day
Yeah.
because of this. And it's not all about money, just so you know. Like, actually, I watched Ty's video last night. It was really cool in his story. He said, health, wealth, love, and happiness. And they all happen in order. Every day he'll wake up, he'll do an exercise. Health should come before wealth.
Yeah.
So if you're dead, your money's worth nothing.
Yeah.
You know, after you've taken care of your health, go after wealth. Go make some money. After that, you know, socialize a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Love, happiness. Love could be friendship, relationships, but go out and have some fun.
Yeah.
Don't waste your entire life trying to solve the world, because you're never going to do it alone.
Yeah.
Unless you're Elon Musk.
Of course.
Right? So, and then after that, happiness is all from those other three before it.
Yeah.
And that's how you intertwine it. And I'm still learning how to do that effectively, because trying to be successful online, you know how long it takes.
Yeah.
Even with your industry, it takes a long time just to be successful, period, unless you win the lottery. And it's likely not going to happen. So.
Of course. Something that I love that you did too is, you know, this seems to be a recurring theme on the From Zero video series, is the notion of just getting started, right? Because sure, you had a connection into you know, the dental office where you could talk to the right person, but you didn't necessarily know what you were doing. You just knew there was an opportunity and knew that as soon as you know, if you had the sales techniques to land the client, you can figure your shit out after. But it's just about going and doing it, because, you know, we can either outsource to fucking Fiverr or, you know, there's opportunities for us to get the job done. But a lot of people have this analysis paralysis where they're like, okay, there's so many social media marketers, you know, it's too late. Or, you know, I don't know how to get leads, so why would I even bother talking to them? And then they have these own limiting beliefs that, you know, are preventing them from actually going out, and their elementary understanding of social media is better than a 50-year-old's archaic understanding that it's relevant, right? So it's basically you just taking action and saying, wow, there's a need here. Let's just bridge that gap. We'll fucking figure it out later.
Yeah.
But now is the time, because as you said with, you know, when Coca-Cola and different people like that into the game,
Gary said
right?
that,
yeah. That's when you know, it's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
Right? But now is the time where you can sort of get away with not knowing anything, to the point where you'll figure it out along the way, and you're proof of that, right? Which is exciting.
100%, man. People go wrong in their agencies. They'll find struggle not landing clients because they have no guarantee.
Yeah.
And I said this at Ty's house when I was teaching, as like, my competitive advantage is not only am I guaranteeing, but now I'm actually going to start closing the leads, because marketing and sales is two different areas.
Yeah.
But if I intertwine those two things, now I have a marketing advantage of why that person would sign me over the next guy. So now, you know, when I started, it was $500 to $1,000 a month. It was cool.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, okay, it's 10 grand minimum. I'm not doing anything. You're not working with me because it's just not worth my time.
Yeah.
And it's not me only. I have a team of different people. But where people get wrong is they think you need an office like this.
Yeah.
And they think you need people in person where you're paying $60,000 to $80,000 a year. It's not like that anymore. You said Fiverr, right?
Yeah.
Fiverr. What about Upwork? Those things.
Yeah,
those two
Upwork,
platforms right there. That's a golden nugget, guys. Like, if you don't even need to know how to do any functionality in the marketing agency.
Yeah.
You just need to know how to close deals, essentially.
Agreed.
And then make the
And that's another opportunity, like you say, you know, you look at, you know, I did this during the winter times where, you know, I came out with a new video intro for my YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And I posted it, and people literally commented on Facebook, wow, that's so sick. How much did it cost?
Yeah.
And I was like, how much do you think it cost?
$6.
And they were literally said $250 to $500, which essentially is, you know, denoting the market value that they perceive on that. And it was a $10 Fiverr templated intro. So I looked at that and I was like, okay, you know, there's opportunities here where you're not, you know, being false, but what you're saying is, you know, there's a market value. You can be that strategic middleman that has the right connections and knowledge of bridging that gap. And there's your revenues. Right?
You're dead on. That's exactly what I teach a lot of time. I actually understand. I took 2 years to understand how to do SEO, click funnel building, you know, Facebook retargeting ads through custom conversion pixels, understanding how to code a little bit. I'm not excellent at it, but understand how to build websites, all those different components, but I'm not excellent at one of them.
Yeah.
And that's just it, is I understand. And that's what I recommend too, is don't just go and create an agency if you're thinking about it and hire a team and be a middleman, because if people aren't doing their job, you're not going to know if they're doing it well.
Certainly. Okay, so just getting back to it, you know, we've kind of talked about the opportunities that are there with social media, and we know that this is the space that you're diving into, and this is, you know, really relevant, and people aren't understanding maybe the potential of where it's going to go. So, you know, with someone that's very understanding of the space, why don't we dive into some trends and opportunities and maybe some advice for people that might not have the best understanding of social media or understand its power in today's world?
See, that's actually a really hard question. That's like me predicting where the stocks are going to go for Apple tomorrow. But based on what I can see is that they're going to go up.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is that the big players are going to come into Facebook ads, come into YouTube ads, come into LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn is also one that's not utilized like it should be.
Big time.
That's where the decision makers are. A lot of people are looking for business owners on Instagram, and they're on LinkedIn. So use that. And what I'm thinking is, like Gary said, Gary Vaynerchuk, for anybody that doesn't know Gary, is Coca-Cola, Walmart, IKEA. These guys will spend millions of dollars a day on advertisements because they can see the ROI. And us little players aren't going to have the bid cap to do something where we can compete. We're going to be able to show other people, but Facebook is going to jump the price of the cost to show other people. So right now is the time to get in, make your margins large enough, and then grow an agency if you're going to do that, or even for your personal brand. But you need to see trends, and Ty Lopez talks about that. Is he was on a trend of doing YouTube ads, and he filmed that exact video in his garage in October, actually Halloween night of 2015. He took 10 takes of it on his phone. And what he found was people enjoyed the candid relatability because it wasn't edited.
Yeah.
And that's what we need to understand is what's next. And it even falls back to crypto. As people say, oh, Bitcoin's down. It's the only currency in the world, if you want to put that in quotations, that's worth over 8,000 Canadian, 5,000 US dollars. What other currency is worth over 1,000 to 1?
Yeah.
None. So you need to look at what's up and coming. What's up and coming as these large players are coming. They're not going to do Super Bowl as much. They still will.
Of course.
But they're seeing that there's huge potential here. And that's why I'm working with the government of Canada right now.
Yeah.
And, like they just see that even voters, they want voters' minds to change, essentially.
Yeah.
So using Instagram story ads, for example, they're cheap right now.
Yeah.
I recommend using those. I just use one for my personal brand. I reached 1.6 million people, and I spent $300.
Yeah.
And I got thousands of followers from it. Right? 15 seconds, this is who I am, 24 years old, lives where you vacation, makes X amount of months, swipe up to learn how I did it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's all it was. And people are like, okay, all over it. People will purchase lifestyles, as you can see with Ty Lopez. He takes experts, put them together, and then he'll sell a course on it.
Yeah.
So I just think that where it's going is we need to take advantage of how cheap it is right now. It's not super cheap, but it's cheap enough where
it's as cheap as it's gonna get because it's only gonna go up.
Yeah,
right?
And I don't know what the next Facebook and Instagram is going to be. I don't think it's in the near future yet. I know there's an app that I use called Holliness.
Yeah.
It's a social e-commerce platform for entrepreneurs. I actually have it on my phone. They verified me because I do know some of the people that have been developing it for 7 years, and they got over 1 million users. So this is a runner-up.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're going to get bought by Instagram, but check out Holliness. That's another really good platform where you can sell right away.
Definitely. It's something that I want to talk about where you don't know what the next Facebook and Instagram is, because I was listening to one of Andy Frisella's videos the other day.
Yeah.
And, someone asked, they basically said to Andy, like, is it too late, or what if I try and I'm not good enough for this platform, or by the time I get there, there's something new. Mm-hmm. And basically he used this neat analogy where he's, of course, relating different platforms to fruits. But he's like, when you have Facebook, like, squeeze the fucking juice out of the lemon. And then when Instagram comes around an orange, squeeze the fucking juice out of that. And then something comes out, squeeze that. You're going to basically have to say, whatever is coming up, maximize it to its potential, and then jump to the next one, whether it be, Instagram ads or whatever it comes up with, stories and things like that. Totally. You need to basically just dive down on whatever is current and relevant, and then you don't need to know what's next. You just need to squeeze every opportunity out of what's current and position yourself so that when something comes up, you're in the place to advance to that next thing, right? And just suck the life out of everything that is relevant in the now.
Yeah, 100%. I think you're exactly right, but I think also, like, it's almost a stupid question. Of course, there are stupid questions we didn't learn right in school.
Yeah.
If you're working on Instagram, you started from zero today, you can take those followers that have, even if it's 1,000 followers, over to a new platform if one comes about, right? Yeah. Just say, hey, this is me on my new profile on this platform. Yeah. So that's not a very good question for somebody who asked that question.
Exactly.
Right? So that's
exactly.
What I think.
And I think it's cool, right? Even going back to something you said way earlier in the chat is, something that really helped you out and something that helped me out too is different shout-outs and collaborations, and understanding that that's something that's big and relevant right now. Is you see people like, whether it be Gary, Tom Bilyeu, Ed Milet, Andy Frisell, all these people, Sherrard Adams, and basically they're all cross-pollinating on each other's channels, right? So I think something for, maybe a piece of advice, or if you want to give some tidbits of advice to the viewers of stuff they can do now with social media is, finding opportunities like that, because when I got featured on my first podcast, my following grew from 1 to 2,000 overnight, and that wasn't big, but it grew by 100%.
That's really good.
Right? And just understanding that that's powerful in the now. So maybe we'll talk about, just quickly, a couple pieces of advice you have people, whether it be for growth or how to become more relevant on the platforms today.
Totally. I think it was Gary that made the $1.80 thing, whatever. I don't use that, but I recommend that, what's the best way if you're starting from zero? I mean, if you're starting posting, you post six pictures, you're not going to get huge traction. Maybe you get 50 followers or whatever. That's why you need a boost behind it. That's why I did create IG Crack. And again, you don't have to use that, but using shoutouts, finding people that are at your level. Or reaching out to your personal network that knows somebody that would say, hey, this person has 10,000 followers. Do you think they'd give me a shout out? That'd be awesome. It doesn't hurt to ask, because you're not going to get anything if you don't ask.
Big time.
So when you grow and when you start getting 1,000, 2,000, you find relevant profiles at your level. You're not going to ask someone with 100,000 to do a shout out for you. So what I like to do when I was like 8,000 to 10,000 is I would just simply say, hey, I'll give you a free shout out if you shout me out on your story today. And I created this thing called Entrepreneur of the Day, which I'm actually going to continue doing now.
Cool.
And Entrepreneur of the Day is I discover people who would interact with my content, and I'd shout them out, and then they'd feel obligated to give me something back by human nature. So Entrepreneur of the Day was what made me successful as well. And then obviously using just my own personal network. When you start posting, it didn't happen overnight. Like I said, 1,200 followers to 10,000 to 15 to 20 and then so on. Took me like 5-6 months of actually being on the platform every day, but nobody has time for that anymore. You know what I mean? So that's why you have to use some sort of like innovation. And if you don't, there's a website actually. There's a website called shoutcard.com. And shoutcard.com is where you can purchase shoutouts from influencers in your industry, and they're all rated, they're all legit. You get your money back if they don't show you out. So that's a good way to do it for like $30.
Definitely.
Because your $30, it might get you, 200, 300, even up to 1,000 new followers. But they're going to be people in your niche that decided to follow you. Your ROI will be a lot bigger.
I think it's cool to just mention the fact that, when you were shutting people out with your, Entrepreneur of the Day, you were providing value on both sides, right? And I feel like that's something that a lot of people fall short on, is they ask with no give. And that's something that, really helped me, is the fact that, I reached out to the guy with, my first feature was on the GS Demo podcast, and that's what everyone knows me for. And he is the #1 real estate podcast on YouTube.
That's sick.
Through and through. And I just messaged him, but I curated my story in a way that I could tell anyone it would be worth them sharing, right? By just curating what I've done in the industry so far. So it was me saying, I can provide you with valuable content if you're willing to have me on. And it's similar things with people looking to, collaborate with the t-shirt industry. It's like, you don't fucking message these people and say, hey, can I get a free t-shirt? It's like, how can I get a free t-shirt but provide you enough value that makes sense? So I think people need to understand, similar to the jab, 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 right hook mentality, is the fact that you can't just go out like a fucking shotgun and just start asking, because if you're not worth providing anything, no one's going to give it to you, right? So I think you took a very neat approach to that, and finding something that's mutually beneficial.
Totally, 100%. People will pay attention when you comment on their photo rather than like it.
Big time.
That's another one that's simple. You can message, I think when you're just starting an account, 20 people a day, and you're limited to like 220 likes if you're on a brand new account per day. Again, you don't necessarily have to do this. If you don't want to use automation, go on Fiverr, go on Upwork, hire a VA for $3 to $6 an hour. Why not? Get them to do 2 hours a day. That's going to cost you nothing. There's a real human behind it, and you just tell them who to target. That's good money to them.
I think it's really cool, man. Just, as we wrap up here, something to summarize is the fact that, your success is basically predicated on understanding relevant technology and using that and applying it to gaps that you can bridge that provide basically a substantial revenue, right? You've basically done that with everything between understanding how to leverage Airbnb. A lot of people just look at that and say, wow, when I go on vacation, let me use Airbnb. They don't say, holy shit, when I go on vacation, I can not only rent an Airbnb, but I can use Airbnb to rent my own spot and pay for that vacation, right? It's basically just changing your mindset and being open to applying what we have now to a very creative way to, essentially make money from it.
Exactly. And there's a huge gap right now, and I want to talk about this because I think I will release a course on this. No entrepreneurs are talking about their taxes.
Yeah.
And it seems so that a lot of them simply aren't paying them.
Yeah.
Because they make all this money, and I got friends that make millions, and they're just like, shit, I'm so far behind. I made all this money, now I don't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're getting into this business and you're making PayPals, there's ways around it. Sure, there's ways around it where you can make it look like it's gifts. But you don't want to live that life because you're going to always have someone behind your back.
Yeah.
And you don't want to fuck with the government.
Big time.
So basically, when you get into this business, use apps. Like I'm using QuickBooks now because I was trying to keep all my receipts.
I do the same.
And my fucking wallet was this big. I couldn't even sit down on an airplane.
Yeah.
And now I use QuickBooks. I'm like, Ashley, can you help me with this? Can you download this app or take a picture? She'll hold it up. It just helps.
Yeah.
So things like leasing your car, renting your place, using the square footage, writing off your phone, writing off like the bills for pretty much anything, food, drinks, as
mileage,
well as a
everything.
lifestyle entrepreneur. I write off all my travel.
Yeah.
Here you go, accountant. I just spent $100,000 on traveling the past 2 years. Now deduct that from what I owe.
Yeah.
Now I maybe owe a little bit of money. Who
Yeah.
cares? But you need to keep track of these things. These entrepreneurs with Shopify, or even just in general that are making all this money online, are like, you never hear them talk about taxes.
Yeah.
It's like, what happened to your taxes? Where's your cut? You made $100,000, so where's 20 of that?
Yeah.
That's going to the government. You don't talk about that. You spent it on a Lambo.
For sure. I know.
There you go. So I just think that that's a huge void that anybody who's watching, just starting, or even if you're in the business, it's something that I even got behind on, and you need to take care of it.
Yep. I agree. It's understanding that this is a business. It's not just, free for all for making cash.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that's awesome, man. Before we wrap up, I always like to, ask people what their most recommended book would be. And then I want to hear, what can we expect from you going forward for all those who are going to start following you now?
Yeah, it's funny. I'm going to be completely honest. Last time I read a textbook was for stats class in 2015.
Yeah.
And I'm not even lying to you. I watch everything visually.
Yeah.
There is one, I'm part of Ty's 300 group.
Yep.
So there's like 300 people chosen around the world. There's only 53 so far. Someone who's made 6 to 7 figures, and he talked about this book last week. I want to, so you can give it to your viewers.
I will.
I'll give it to you, and you can link it down below.
Yeah.
It has to do with something with like health, wealth, love, and happiness as
Yeah.
well. But more or less, I'm a huge YouTube guy. I was interviewed, I remember in 2016 at SAIT. I just finished a midterm. I was standing there with my calculator like, what do you think of textbooks? Like, do you think they need to be replaced? Do you think we need to change that? I'm like, I don't use them. I use Google.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? Like, you use Google for everything? I said, yeah, other than stats class. Because I couldn't learn everything on Google. It had to be one by one. But
100%.
it's just, everything's available to you right now.
Yeah.
You're just lazy wasting time on social media.
Big time. Definitely, man. I agree with that. And then, last thing as we wrap up is, with your new, partnerships and sphere that you're building and growing with Ty and Gary and all these, big players.
Yeah.
What are you projecting in the future? What can we expect from you? Just in the short term, what can we look forward to?
My bigger goal now is, I always said to myself, I want to be a millionaire by 25. I'm 24. But I said the bigger goal for me is to, I wouldn't say change university, and I said this before in many interviews, but create a new type of university.
Yeah.
Where, and I'll repeat this again and again, where if somebody who's really good at SMMA is the teacher on a live university platform, and somebody's good at e-commerce, somebody who knows how to flip real estate or do real estate like yourself,
yeah.
The best of the best is in this university, almost like a Harvard online, where people can pay not a tuition, but per class, and they can join live feeds where they're actually going to learn how to make their way out of the 9-to-5 system and build their own legacy.
Agreed.
So my biggest thing is I want to create like a Ross University, but online.
Yeah.
And that's not a short-term goal. That's my short and long-term goal. That's my life goal.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
I think that's cool because we know that, people are seeing that more than ever. It's the fact that even me, I get out of university, took 2 degrees in 3 years, busted my ass off. It was absolutely mental.
Holy cow.
And yeah, man, it was fucked. And, looking now, I'm getting everything from YouTube. I learned everything from, people ask me about personal branding, and I learned it all on YouTube.
Yeah.
And now the way to go is looking at these professionals that actually have done it, right? Because you have this, understanding that those that can't do teach. But now with YouTube and with some of these big entrepreneurs, you have those that can do and they're willing to teach, right? So it's a neat paradigm shift where that is going to become something that's available, and if you're the catalyst of making that and probably doing it on a subscription-based something or Netflix style, make a bucket of cash there,
Exactly.
that's amazing. So I think that's cool, man.
Cool.
Definitely.
Right, we'll end it there.
Fantastic, guys. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to link all Braydon's stuff below because again, he's doing some amazing stuff, and you're going to be on the leading edges of trends as you continue to watch this man grow. And you know, at a tender age of 24, it's only the beginning. So I'm excited to have you on here, man. And we're going to see you guys on the next episode. Cheers.
See ya.
All right, everyone. So there you have it. I hope you were able to take something impactful away from this interview that you're going to be able to apply to your own life. Please comment below what your biggest takeaway was, and if you have anyone in mind that you think I should interview next. Thank you for tuning in. As always, please make sure you subscribe, and we will see you next time.